Okay.
Okay, there you go.
I would like to call this meeting at 6 o'clock. I'm going to look at our agenda. First thing on the agenda is changes or additions to the agenda. Anybody got anything to add for this one?
No.
Nope. Okay. Approval of the minutes of November 4th, 2025. I think we were all there, so I think we can do that. I think we have to do roll call because we are in here. So, can I have a motion, please, to accept the minutes on November 4th?
Okay. So moved.
Awesome. Beth Ann, do you want a second?
I second that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. All those in favor, I'm going to have to do roll call. Hannah?
Aye.
Beth Ann?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. The minutes have been approved for November 4th. Right now, we are looking for any public participation or announcements that anyone has. Anybody? Hannah, are you waving your hand or are you?
No, that's Eliza's hand.
Oh, hi, Eliza's hand. Eliza, does Eliza want to add anything for public participation?
No, she just really would like to participate.
Okay. Well, I would like to say that I appreciated lunch with loved ones as always. It was a lovely, lovely day. And I am also super psyched about winter activities. It seems like that has moved in a great direction, and I'm glad we get to do that again. So those are my public things. Anyone else? Okay. Next thing, we've got administrative report. Mr. Romeo, I think that's you.
That's me.
Do you want me to share the screen for you, Frank?
That would be great.
Helpful.
I don't want to steal because Emily is here today as a student rep, and I don't want to steal any of her thunder. Does it have to be me first, or?
She can go. I've got her presentation right here.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay. This
I'm
way I
good
don't
with-
steal any of your thunder.
No, there you go. It's fine.
Okay, let me
I can go first.
screen. Okay. Emily, is this the first meeting for you this year?
I went to the one in October, I believe. But this is like the first presenting one, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
I just wanted to make sure you knew everybody. All right, let me get this in slideshow mode for you.
That's it.
Okay,
Emily, did you
one.
get my updated version for you?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Oh, I'll
Hope
just pull that up
hope
on
you
my
didn't
screen.
mind.
Oh no, I don't. It's totally fine. I totally forgot to pull that up on my end though, so let me do that first. Okay. Does it match yours? Okay. So this is obviously the board meeting of December 2nd. And oh, it's taking forever to load.
It's okay.
Yeah. So God, I need my split screen for this. So you can go.
Do you want me to advance? Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
So happy December. I'll do a quick recap of November, like in the school itself. First off, we had lunch with a loved one, which Heather tapped on a little bit. We had a lot of parents come, and overall, I think it was a very welcoming space at everybody's lunches. If a kid's parents couldn't make it, they sat with another friend's parent, and it was overall really nice. And then we had the Scholastic Book Fair, which I know a lot of parents went to and a lot of kids wanted stuff from, and I'm sure that went well. And we had our fall conferences, although that was, I think, in October, but that was good as well. So, yeah. And then we have our upcoming events. So, I'll go in order. So we have the Hartland Drama Club Variety Show on December 6th, so this Saturday at 1. So I'm in the drama club. So we put on the show every year, if you don't know what it is. And it's a bunch of kids. It's like a talent show, but it's a little bit different. So we have a 50-50 raffle. I don't remember how much the tickets are. We have commercials. We have games where you can win rubber ducks, and then we have a bunch of performances. So it's, I think, $3 to enter, if I remember correctly. And then we have the winter concert on December 11th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And that's when the 4th through 8 bands, choirs, and the drumming groups come and perform on stage, which is, you can get in by donation. And the donations go towards our Six Flags trip. So, yeah, and then we have the 8th grade spaghetti dinner from 5 to 7 on December 13th. So you should all participate and come to each one of those events. And then I did 8th grade this month because that was the easiest grade to do. So in 8th grade, we just got done in our social studies class, the Boston Massacre court case. So it was this big court case on whether the soldiers caused the Boston Massacre or the colonists caused the Boston Massacre, and we had a jury and we had witnesses and we had to state our arguments. And then I don't know who won. I was not there, so I don't know who won in the end. Then in science, we learned about body systems and then created life-size drawings of these body systems. Then in English, we just finished The Outsiders. It's a classic novel. And then we wrote either a page or a multi-page paper about a specific topic that you chose to write about. So for me, I chose a music, a playlist per se, for a certain character in the book. And yeah, it was overall really fun, and November was a good month.
Okay. Thanks, Emily. Frank, you ready for me to switch over to?
Yeah, that would be great. I'm just going to add on to Emily, and I appreciate all the things that she touched on. One of the things, about reading The Outsiders was the entire middle school team dressed up from characters as the Outsiders for Halloween. And so we had a bunch of different characters and outfits and stuff like that, just to kind of celebrate and reading it. But it was really cute that the adults got involved in it with the students as well.
They looked great. I saw them all dressed up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to switch over and just to let you know, I don't know that you shared this, Frank. Frank has very, very poor Wi-Fi at his house or internet connection, and so he's keeping his camera off tonight. But he's here.
Oh, that's why we don't get to see your beautiful face.
When I told him we were virtual, he's like, "Okay, I've got a generator. I've got all this."
I set the generator up because we live kind of in the middle of nowhere, and power in a storm like this gets spotty. And even when Christine called today, I literally had to go outside and talk to her.
Yeah. So that's why his.
Oh, and I'm in the extra bedroom because Gretchen's son is here with us because of the weather. So I'm just hiding out with my camera off too.
Yeah.
I'm making it work. Okay, let me switch over to the correct. Get to the beginning.
I'm intermittently turning my camera off to yell at my children.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Make sure that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I put it in present mode, but there we go. Okay.
All right.
You're good.
Yeah, good to go.
All right, here we go.
You can jive. All right, perfect. So keeping with our awareness month, as we did cancer and Native American. So this month it's Universal Human Rights Month. So just kind of highlighting that. And again, students are able to hand in poems, short stories, any works of art to help celebrate the awareness of it in our building through the Slate Foyer. If you happen to come visit, straight ahead, we have a display case with all of the students' work, and it just could be little poems and pictures and stuff like that. It's really nice. It's going to go into next week's newsletter because I was waiting for the rest of them to go up. So just wanted to highlight that for folks. So, all right, next, please. And this again just kind of highlights what kids can do and what they'll be doing for that awareness. Okay. Next, please. That is something that the entire building did in going with our theme Stronger Together. It is all the hands of our students put into this display, and Tina worked on it, and a bunch of other folks. And it's just beautiful. And I just think it's worth putting in any presentation that we have or any place I can celebrate it Stronger Together. So.
And teachers added their hands to it as well.
Yep. Yeah. Collective. Thank you, Emily. It's collective. So it's just great display for us. Emily already highlighted the spaghetti supper and the variety show. So I just put these in there just for dates and prices and stuff like that. But again, that was already highlighted on or talked about. Upcoming events, some things just to keep an eye on. We have Wildcat wrap up, which folks, I did get to see folks at the last one for the Heart Awards, which was really nice. We have the performance, spaghetti dinner, holiday market, the Hartland Farmers Market, and then the holiday break. So just another reminder. Those are our recent Heart Award winners, which we broadcast. Just think it's worth having up there as we're just so proud of folks and the hard work that everyone's doing.
There's Eliza's name. Go,
Yes.
Eliza.
Yep. All right. So yeah.
Sorry. Oh, there it is, right in the front, right on top. Nice.
Yep. All right, so just a couple of things that we're working on. Still running discipline reports, attendance and tardy. The SEI, MTSS counselors, front office folks are really trying to get a handle on this. And so while we are running reports as an admin team with Christine monthly, Hartland is kind of running them weekly, bi-weekly, so that our SEI team is on top of just discipline follow-up, what attendance looks like, and our tardies. And so that's just an ongoing presence within our meetings and the communication that we have. And one of the things, and I think it's worth mentioning with teachers, they are putting in a lot of these entries for discipline and follow-up. And so it's really making the administration step up as well. And I think in a good way to increase our communication, not only with parents and students, but within our own building. And so those reports are being run to help highlight that. Book vending machine. I don't know if folks who were aware, I know I mentioned this, but we were awarded the grant for the book vending machine. That's a picture of it there. That's what it will look like, a display of however many books, some for bigger ones and smaller. In addition to the book vending machine, which has been ordered, I wrote about $1,200 worth of books, which should help for about a year or two, working with Tina in the library to be able to fill that. Kids can earn tokens through a number of things. Caught you being good cards. We have a geography fair, a science fair coming up. So we're just trying to highlight as many ways as we can for kids to earn tokens so that they can get free books when they get them. So we're just very proud and excited to have that. And that will be in the front of the building when you walk in where that TV screen is. So hoping the first of the year is when we'll see that. A couple other things, science fair, been working with our science teacher, Mr. Martin, to try and get that underway to coincide with the geography fair. I've talked about this already. The big highlight for me is making sure that any entries into this science fair include both an elementary student and a middle school student, so that they're pairing together and partnering. And then winter activities were talked about, always looking at the schedule for next year. I've had a few conversations. I think as we get through budget season and we understand what we have and what we're working with, then we'll start to look a little closer or kind of hammer down a little bit more on the schedule. Another thing is the Minga electronic pass system for folks. I know I mentioned this it is up and running. I find it very helpful since being successful and be able to just hold people accountable, including teachers, of where are your students going, kind of where everybody knows. The front office has a display and they'll know if passes are run over time. So in other words, if I were to go to the bathroom and I have a 5-minute pass, if I do not check back in within 5 minutes, there's an alert, and it's always good to then, make sure that people are aware they're supposed to be. And again, holding teachers and students accountable for where we are.
Frank, can I ask a question about the science fair, please?
Yes.
What grades is the science fair open for?
Well, it's going to be all grades. The caveat to that is that it has to include your team has to have at least one middle school student and one elementary student, so that the middle school student can help support and sort of guide. And what we will also do is every entry will get an adult participant. So in other words, if you and as a middle schooler come in with Emily as an elementary, I may be assigned to your science fair project just to help keep you in line. Like, do you need supplies? What do you need? So anyone really can participate. The only thing, again, is that we have a middle school and elementary so that they can work together.
How would I'm just asking selfishly because I've got I got a third grader who loves science and will probably want to do this. How do you make that, how do I make that happen?
Yep. So when the forms come out, which should be coming out hopefully this week, I just finished up and need Mr. Martin to check off on it. Then we'll send it out to all folks. Anyone that's interested, we'll get a list together, and then we will partner up. And because a lot of our middle schoolers already work in a lot of the classrooms and work with students, so we'll just look to pair folks up. Once we get a list from all the teachers in elementary, and once we get a list from middle school, then we'll partner people up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Frank, do you want me to advance the slide?
Yes, please.
You're done? Okay.
Hang on.
My turn. All right. So I want to start with an update on Act 73, the redistricting task force. I'm sure you've heard on the news, but just to let you know that the task force did submit their report to the legislature. It was due on December 1st. They had their last meeting on November 20th to finish their report, and they did go forward with a recommendation for cooperative education service areas as their map, I guess we'll say. So that will establish 5 regional cooperative education service areas, and will not incorporate new governance structures or school boards, but it will allow shared trying to think of the right word. It'll allow for efficiencies. So shared contracts for things like transportation, special ed services or programs. It could mean that under this cooperative education service area, sometimes referred to as a BOCES, you could share payroll services. So there are efficiencies that could be gained from the model. Under the plan or under their proposal, there are opportunities for voluntary mergers, and also a plan for incentivizing districts to merge voluntarily over a longer period of time, which we know Act 73, the requirements of Act 73, the timeline was just really not conducive to doing a good job in consolidation. So that was the plan that went forward. We don't know what will happen with that in the legislature. Give me a second. I don't know what that is.
You got somebody let themselves in. I was wondering what was going on there. Okay, don't let anybody else in.
Well, let me just get this up so that I can stop that from happening. Sorry about that.
All right, it happens.
So anyway, the legislature will now either accept the proposal from the redistricting task force, they'll reject it, or they can change and draw their own map. So we will wait to see what happens and I will keep you updated with anything that I learn going forward. Just wanted to let you know a couple things that we're working on. Part of the new legislation from last spring was that we are going to be required to adopt a cell phone policy by the end of this year. And the AOE is tasked with creating a model policy. So we're waiting for that. It's supposed to come out in January. And when it comes out, we'll bring that policy or a version of it to the SU board, and we will have to adopt policy by June 1st, I believe, of 2026. So I don't know what that'll look like. I've seen a lot of draft policies from that have been shared, and they look like anything from what we do now. And we do not have a current policy. We just have a procedure in place, which is K-8, no phones out. They can be in their backpacks or in their lockers. The high school level, we do allow students to take their phones out at lunch, and the seniors, they advocate for some senior privileges. So students that are in the senior lounge at Windsor are allowed to use their phones during their time in the lounge. So some of the policies look like that. Some of them look like we're buying lockers and kids are putting their phones in lockers as they enter the building, and they don't have access to them all day. So it'll be interesting to see where we land. I would say in our K-8 realm, it's not a huge problem in our schools. I know Frank can weigh in on that. We tend to see more challenges at the high school level with phones.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree, Christine. I think for the most part, it's there's always a one-off here or there, but I think for the most part, it's very much followed, and teachers are great with enforcing that and letting us know.
Great. And we do have a process and protocols in place for what happens if a student doesn't follow the process or the procedure or the expectations.
Yes.
And I think success is really in teachers following that as well and holding kids accountable. That makes it easier. So I think our teachers do a good job with that. We are tasked with developing a cardiac response plan by the end of this year that's in place for next year. That was also came out of the legislative session last year. So I am working with the nurses across the SU to develop a cardiac response plan and make sure we're in compliance with having the equipment that we need and keeping that equipment updated, which is an expense, I will say. Not a huge expense, but there is an expense involved. So the nurses are looking at what machines they have now, if they have enough, if we have to purchase more, does it make sense for us to all have the same machine so that we can, when we have to order batteries and new pads, we get a break because we all have the same machine. At this point, we don't, but we're working towards that. So that'll be in place by the end of the year. Just to let you know, I shared this at the SU board meeting. We have, hi Beth Ann, I can stop and you have a question about the cardiac plan.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, money-wise, does Mount Scottney Hospital work with like getting? I assume you're talking about AEDs because I know, at Mount Scottney, for instance, like they have a plaque that says like the AED was donated by Mount Scottney Hospital. I'm just wondering, like, do they do that for the schools too?
They have, I think, in the past, and we do work with Mount Scottney closely. The nurses do. I don't think they've asked this time. They're collecting information on who has what. Do we meet the requirement, which is you have to have a machine within, I believe, 300 feet of, you have to be, you have to be able to get to the machine within 3 minutes of an event. So if you have one on the first floor in, I know Hartland's only a 1-story building, but in Wethersfield there's 2 floors, so they technically need one downstairs and they need one upstairs. Mount Scottney needs one on every floor. So they're looking at what they have, what they need, the condition of the machines. I guess when the machines are outside and they need to be for athletics, they need different. They have to be kept in a certain way so that they work. And I know we're not in compliance with that, so we're working on it. But I will check with the nurses to see if there's any support from Mount Scottney in this area. I know Mount Scottney supports us in lots of ways, but I will ask the nurses at our next meeting, which I believe is tomorrow. So there's also, like, with this law, there has to be a checklist. So those machines have to be checked monthly, and somebody has to do that. As part of that law, you have to have a cardiac response team in place, and all of the people on that team have to be trained in CPR and life-saving skills. So we're working on figuring out who should be on those teams in each building, and figuring out when and how we're going to train them, because there's logistics to that as well. But all things we're working on. But great question. I'll put that on my list to talk about tomorrow with them. Frank, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just as a former athletic director, one of the things when I was an athletic director is looking into some grants, the way that we're doing it, to have a mobile AED machine for athletics. And so that's another thing I actually asked our nurse and talked about that and looking into. And so they do make mobile ones, not just a stationary one, but one that you can bring around as an athletic director to any event that wherever you are. And it's great to have. And so that's something I've asked them to look into as well.
Yeah, that's helpful, because I think from what I heard from the nurses, they have to be kept at a certain temperature if they're outside. And logistically, if you're coaching a sport in the afternoon and the building's closed and the AED machine's inside the building, you can't get to it. So we're trying to figure out all those logistics.
Yes.
But I'll keep you updated on that. Just some good news. We do have one of our maintenance employees, John McKinney. He's going to go through HVAC training through Visbit, and they're going to pay for it. And so that will allow John, once he's trained, it's a year-long program, to be able to respond to HVAC issues within our SU, and that should reduce our need to engage with third-party contractors, which we do now. We have to call Control Technologies or whoever it is to come and work on our HVAC systems when they break. So that should be a cost savings. Just to let you know, the draft calendar is out for next year. The SU board approves it. The union membership looks at it, offers their feedback from their membership, and then it goes back to the board. So that'll be in the next couple of months. We'll have our calendar for next year. A couple things that don't necessarily apply to Hartland right now, but I just want to keep you informed, because part of Act 73, there are class size minimum requirements, and there've been a lot of questions about that, about this part of the law. So we created some Q&A around it, and I'll share a little bit with you. One of the questions that came up was, if the maps, if the legislature doesn't choose a map, do the class size minimums still go into effect? And yes, they do. They are not exempt from it. Even if maps aren't selected, we do have to comply with class size minimums starting July 1, 2026. So that is part of the law. There was some confusion around, our class size minimums a 3-year average, and the answer is no, they're not. They're not a 3-year average. We have to meet class size minimums over 3 consecutive years to be in compliance. So I know that they do go into effect next year. I've had conversations with the deputy secretary and the legal counsel from the agency, and there will be a data collection in the fall to see which schools are in compliance with the law and which schools are not. And if you are not in compliance, you will be required to create a plan to become compliant with the law. So that was just a confusion that we've cleared up. Another question was, are class size minimums based on the average for the school district or the school? And they are based on the school, not the school district. So for example, if we take Mount Escutney School District, for example, we're not averaging the class sizes from Albert, Bridge, and Windsor. They're separate schools, and we have to do the math to figure out if each of the schools is in compliance. So just a reminder, those class size minimums for kindergarten, there are no requirements. For first grade, you must have 10 students. Second through 5th grade, 12 students. Middle school, 15, and high school, 18. So Hartland's in compliance right now with the law, which is great. One last question that came up: are content classes exempt? No, they're not exempt. The classes that are exempt from class size minimums are pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, career and tech ed, flexible pathways, terminal courses, advanced placement courses, courses that require specialized equipment like a tech ed class, and driver's education. Hannah, your face looks really confused.
Well, I'm just thinking about like like if there's an AP class at a high school,
Those are exempt.
those are exempt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it starts by saying no, they are not exempt. But I see. But these things that you're describing are okay.
These
Never
are
mind.
exempt. Yeah, these are exempt. So
Got it.
yeah, there was confusion because the AOE website had a mistake on it, and so it's been fixed. But those are the things that are exempt, and those terminal courses are like those end of like calculus 2, those higher level end of content courses and advanced placement courses as well. So those are exempt from the law. But again, Hartland is in compliance at this point, and we can talk more about that when we get into the budget shortly. And that is all I have for you tonight, but I'm happy to take any questions or.
I have just one kind of comment. I understand from some members of the community that there's like a lot of discussion, obviously, about Act 73 at the elementary school. It sounds like maybe even like coming from teachers to students, and it's like generating some worry amongst kids and then families.
Okay.
And it sounds like at Heartland, there's been this narrative that the 7th and 8th graders will get school choice and that everybody under that will go to Windsor. And so I wonder if there's some opportunity for just dispensing some education to the teachers that like we just don't know. And maybe also some opportunity to help teachers have a little bit of a narrative that won't cultivate angst and worry amongst kids. That like we don't know yet, but like whatever it works out, there's gonna be a good opportunity for you to get a high school education. Because I think right now it's just causing a little,
Yeah, and that you think that's coming from the teachers at
what I've
Heartland?
heard is that it's coming
Okay.
from teachers to kids. That's
Okay.
I don't know, Emily, if you can weigh in on that. But
Yeah. So the other day, we did have a teacher say something about like high school choice and how most likely that so-and-so classes won't have it and other classes will.
Huh.
And then I
Interesting.
chipped in and was like, that's not necessarily true. And then that teacher proceeded to be like, well, I know. And I'm like, you can say what you believe, but like,
I don't think anybody knows right now.
exactly. Yeah. So I think just because then it gets back to the parents who obviously are living with a lot of worry in this phase of a lot of unknowns. So maybe if there's just, it's probably not a group that we focused on dispersing a lot of information and education to, but maybe just like talking to the teachers about
for sure.
what we know, what we don't know, and how to talk about it with kids in a way that won't be.
We can do that. That's good to know, Hannah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was unaware. So we will address that.
Yeah. Okay, so Heather, that ends the administrative report, and we'll turn the meeting back over to you.
Okay. That was great. Next thing, items for discussion followed by our motions if needed. It looks like we are going to be talking about our FY27 budget. So I think, Larry, that's going to be you.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen and go over the budget book. It's been available online since for the last month and a half. The SU portion has been online for almost more than 2 months. I'll give a quick overview of different parts of the budget book in case people haven't seen it before, and then some things that stick out that are different than last year's budget book, and then I'll go over into the Heartland budget. So first, one part in the executive summary is the evolution of Vermont education law. Something I added this year, which was not there last year, was Act 11, an act that's not talked about too much, but that is the act that put healthcare negotiation for all teachers and staff at the state level. And we can see where it was passed in July 2018, and the first year was fiscal year 20, I believe. And if you go to the health insurance trends, this was requested last year, and I added it to this year's budget book. You can see in this screen here, the shows the changes in our gold CDHP plan from fiscal year 19 to fiscal year 27. So over here, gold CDHP, that's our most popular plan. That's the plan that 75 to 80% of our staff choose. So that's why I picked that plan. And this cost is shared 80% by the SU and by the local districts, and 20% by the employee. But these are the annual premiums. And for example, the family plan back in fiscal year 19, before Act 11 came into effect, was $19,150, and the single was $69.13. And now in fiscal year 27, I'm budgeting 40, because we're told to by VHI, $43,920 for a family plan, more than doubled, and $15,856 for a single plan, almost tripled, give or take. Now, that doesn't even include the HRAs. So that's just the health premiums. So that doesn't include the HRA that we front load roughly, $3,000 to $4,000 per employee. So just, again, this came up last year, and I want to make sure it was in this year's budget book, as health insurance takes more and more of our budget dollar. Another thing that I included was, a lot of questions about at the SU level, what is being done, at the business office or at the central office on a day-to-day basis. And we know that the state has passed a lot of mandates, and how do you spend your time doing that? And is there a list of everything? And we thought about that, and we had that in different presentations, but this year we put it right in the budget book. And more and more of our central office is being caught up, not just with working for the local boards, but also the state and other federal mandates. And these are just some examples of some monthly, quarterlies, and annual reports that are required of myself, other central office staff, and the IT department and the food service department. All may be very good reports that are required, but they are required, and it takes up a lot of time. So I just wanted everybody to see that, and you can look at that at your own leisure. As we go through the organization summary, nothing really different here from last year, so I won't belabor the point, but I will go into the SU general fund really quick. And as we discussed at the SU board meeting 2 months ago, we've had a really tough SU budget year, and you can see that right here. Going back to 23, the green is at what we call administration operations, and the orange is special education. And you can see how special ed has been more basically than administration operations, which we would expect. But specifically in fiscal year 27, you see a big jump of a 16% increase, 14.6% of which is special education, and 1.4% of which is non-special education. That the administration operations, so that everybody understands what I'm talking about, that includes at the SU level transportation, all the transportation costs that are non-field trips or athletic trips. That includes the superintendent's office, the business office, the curriculum department, the diversity, equity, inclusion department. It includes everything except for food service, which is in a separate fund, and IT. So that is that increased obviously the assessments at all the local schools. In addition to seeing the increase in special ed, one of the questions that came up was how much is our special ed spending in line or out of line with the state? And looking at one function, think of function as a part of budget, the different parts. So for example, psychological services, one function, and IT would be another function. Well, breaking out psychological services, we can compare how we're doing across the state. And if you look at this AOE number, there's been a 456% increase in positions over 3 years in mental and behavioral health positions in Vermont school districts. And you can see over here on the right side, this is our SU and the increase in psychological spending over the exact same time frame. The green is the budgeted amount, and the orange is the actual amount. Now, a lot of that money, not all of it, but a lot of it, we do get reimbursed from the state. But I just wanted everybody to see the difference in how the psychological, we've seen the same or a similar type of surge as the state has seen, I guess is to put it another way. Now moving over to the Hartland budget. First, Hartland High School tuition. These are guesses right now. We have to guess until the tuition is announced. And basically what we do is, as tuition is announced, and let's say Hartford announces their tuition for high school, we update the budget book with that number until a budget is approved. Once a budget is approved, we're locked in. And if Hartford announces it, after the fact, we got to use the budgeted number, obviously. So we've been hitting pretty close to the mark. So just to go show you an example, you have fewer kids in high school. We're planning, let's put it this way. We are planning to have fewer kids in high school for Hartland students, Hartland students in high school. So you will see that number go from 140 to 127. What's 127 and a half? Why do you have a half a student? Well, that includes the VOTEC. So if a student is a VOTEC member, Hartland pays, half the bill to this and then half the bill to the VOTEC. So just to give you an example of these are guesses and estimates, but basically you can see your tuition is roughly down $200 and some odd $1,000, and so that's good news, and we're going to feed that right into the budget. And over here, as I go,
Larry, can I just ask a quick question about that?
Sure. Yeah.
So like Mid Vermont Christian School is still listed there, and I know that a lot of the Act 73 maps are not final, but like those will no longer be, like, how is that going to work for us moving forward?
Well, Christine can answer that better than I can, but at the short order, I believe they are grandfathering students. So even if a student's like a sophomore and next year they're a junior, there's nothing in Act 73 that takes that away.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
From that particular student. But that's a good question. Same thing with like Hanover, right? I know there was some talk in Act 73 about having the Vermont tuition dollar stay in Vermont. So that's what that is. And then if I go to the Hartland General Fund, so after meeting with Frank and administration, and basically we're looking at staffing patterns, we're looking at where things are today, and this is the draft of the budget. As I said, as tuition numbers come in, they will go. This budget will change, but I think the changes will be minor unless there's any additional changes that the board makes. So, for example, as you can see, secondary 7 through 12 is down 180,000. That's basically that tuition that I showed you earlier. Elementary is up K6. Does that include new positions? No, we have health insurance would be included in that. And also we have contracted negotiations. We're under contract for next year. That's included for that. So the overall budget for Hartland year over year, as currently tonight, is up 5%. If you look at the expenditures by SU and local, again, this question comes up every year, and I think this is a graphical, nice representation to show this. Out of our spending dollar, how much of our budget is our budget, meaning Hartland, and how much of it is tuition or the SU. And as you can see, 42% roughly is your local budget. That's your K-8 building. Roughly more than a quarter is your tuition. Those are high school tuition payments. The green is special ed. That's about 18% of your budget, 17 to 18%. Non-special ed SU spending is about a little under 10%. Food service, early childhood is a little less than 2%. And food service is about 1.1% of your spending dollar. And all these charts within the budget book all show the same numbers if you click on the table, but they just break them out by different chart of accounts. So function summary. So how much do we spend on direct instruction? How much do we spend on facilities? How much do we spend on admin support, et cetera? That's all broken out here. Student transportation, you see $17,000. Well, you spend a lot more than $17,000 in transportation, but the SU is up here under central services, and that's where that transportation included. That 17,000 basically includes field trips or athletic transportation. As we scroll down here, this is account summary. So this would break it down by salaries and benefits, and you can see that the green and the orange are your salaries and benefits, and this big blue is other purchase services. Now, other purchase services for Hartland, as opposed to, say, Mount Scottney, is a big portion of your budget because that includes tuition. So that includes tuition plus the SU payments. Under the Vermont chart of accounts, we call that other purchase services. As I scroll down, function, the best way to think about function to me is I think of by department. You could see 40% is regular education. That includes tuition payments. And then 30% is SU assessments. And then building operations is here, and then so on and so forth. So you can see the office of the principal is 4% of your budget. You can see math education is 2.5%. And the way it breaks it out is regular education. And I know we think in terms of a K5, 6, 8 model at Hartland, but as far as what Vermont makes us do for the chart of accounts, we're required to report out K6 and 712. So regular education is basically K6. And then for your middle school math, that would be here, 2% of your budget. Our education would be K8. That's 1% of your budget, and so on and so forth. Athletics, you can see, is less than 1% of your budget. Everything here can be broken out by tables by just clicking it, and you can drop it down. And then down here at the bottom, the last thing on the page, other than the fund balance, is the expenditures by account. And this is the line by line, where you literally go line by line. Teacher salaries is up 4.5%. Paraeducator salaries up 5%, and so on and so forth. And tuition reimbursement, is down. The professional services, and as you can literally go through line by line, if that's what you want to spend your evenings doing, you can do that here and go line by line. So again, the big picture number is the Hartland budget is up as written 5% with $561,488. The last thing that I haven't mentioned as part of this budget book, but we need to have some action tonight would be great. A motion, Heather, you mentioned motions earlier, is the board to decide what to do with the fiscal year 25 surplus. You had a small but real number surplus at Hartland. The other school districts did not have a fiscal year 25 surplus. They ended pretty much right on. But you had a $227,493 fiscal year 25 surplus, and your choices are to either use it as prior year revenue, which would lower your tax rate for fiscal year 27, or you can put it into capital reserve. If my advice as CFO would be to put it into capital reserve, but the board has done different things every year.
Larry, can you do a combination of both? So could we put some in the capital reserve and put some towards that?
You
Do
can.
you have our capital reserve number?
Yeah, your current capital reserve balance is, as of last Monday, $358,275.41.
If we put it to this year's budget, can you tell us how much that will impact the increase? Because you said the increase was 500,000.
Yeah, so it would not increase. It would not affect the increase of the budget. So there's Hartland has one basic major revenue source, and that's the education spending grant, which is the state education fund. Okay, that comes in. All Hartland taxpayers pay into the fund, and then you see how much it costs to run your, since you do not have any other revenue, like Mount Scottney has tuition revenue, you don't have any other revenue. So what would happen, Hannah, is it wouldn't lower the budget. It would that $227,000 I would, if you used it all, would come in as a prior year revenue, which would lower the amount necessary to be required from the education spending grant, which is the ed fund, and that would lower taxes, but it wouldn't lower the budget. The only way to lower the budget would be to cut the budget.
And it's really impossible to say in what way that $227,000 would impact the increase in tax rate until we know what our tax rate is. So it's a little bit of a
I can give
gamble
you, yeah. Well, it's I can
in
give
terms
you,
of
yeah.
It
I
also,
can give you a heads up.
you know, as what's happening right now, right? The governor brought down the tax rate last year, and we're paying for it this year. So there are consequences, right, in the following year. And Larry, you can probably explain it better than I can, but
well, I mean, I'm just thinking about it like psychologically more than anything, right? Like, what is the experience of the voter who sees the tax rate increase? And your point is that they will, in 2 years' time, or whatever next year, it now, because it's probably going to increase again, right? And then they're feeling the double increase.
They're feeling the double increase, correct?
Okay.
Yeah, but I hear you. I mean,
I can. So to give you an idea of what that would do to your budget, to your tax rate, if you applied all of it with the current numbers we have today, which could change in the next 2-3 days, but it would lower your taxes if you used all of it by 4%. And so it would go from a 12% tax increase to an 8% tax increase,
which is significant.
It is. Yeah. And with so much change coming, I mean, I would just make a little plug for that, that I think.
Yes, Hannah, I guess my only caveat to that is there is a logic to going for 8% sounds better than 12%. And also it's the taxpayers' money. So you had a surplus, so you're just giving it back to them. There's a logic to that. However, what I would advise is if you're not going to cut the budget by a corresponding amount, all you're doing is you're going to pay for it next year.
Right.
So unless you keep having surpluses every year, eventually bill's going to get paid because the budget is the budget. So that's why my fiduciary, I always say, put it into capital reserve. But I know it's attractive to buy down tax rates. That's what Christine just said. Yeah, the statewide, they're looking at 12% tax increase. Well, half of that, 6% of that 12% was because they bought down last year. Had they not done that, it would have been 6% this year and 6% more last year.
Right.
Can I ask a question also about the 227,000? Is this one of those situations where, like, because it's a surplus and the state knows that it is a surplus, is there, I guess I'm trying to just make sure, like, we're not going to be penalized later when they're like, oh, you guys had a surplus, so you don't need that you don't need that much money next year? Is that ever a situation?
Not yet. They've talked about that. They've never done it. There's some parts in Act 73 that if they go to the foundation formula where you will not be allowed to have a certain fund balance, they don't do that right now. And the only thing they do is if you put the 227 into capital reserve, it creates like a 5-year window where you have to spend that money because what they don't want school districts to do is to have $1 million or $1.5 million in capital reserve and just sit on it. And when there are infrastructure needs, and because it should not be a rainy day fund, it should be part of a 5-year comprehensive plan. There would be a slight penalty, not a huge number, but there is a slight penalty to hanging on to your capital reserve, over 5 years. Not the whole number, but whatever you put into it.
Can I ask another question? So one thing that we've faced in Hartland is this like double hit phenomenon where we go over and then, and we think a lot of that's tuition. Like, so does using this protect us from that? Because that would mean the money counts double if we use it to buy down the tax rate.
That's a good point. If you decided to put all of it into the tax rate, that would be less. You would be over the excess spending threshold because you are essentially lowering your ed spending.
Mhm.
You're not lowering
We're lowering our ed ask.
Yes, your ed ask.
And then the other question I have about this is, the constant discussion, and I am embarrassed I don't know this, but about like tuition capping, because Act 73 has not yet capped tuition, correct?
No.
But whether or not there is some, I mean, I hate to count on that in the future, but
It'll be the funding formula.
It'll be the funding formula.
Yeah.
So if, for example, and this is something that I've asked and nobody's given me a straight answer on, but let's assume that they consider the task force map a map. And they just take what the task force did and they vote on it tomorrow and they pass it. And that's the map, which doesn't do anything except for voluntary mergers and create BOCES. If that's the case and they go to a foundation funding formula, for example, Hartford High School charges you $23,000, I have to look at the number, $1,000, and they would only get $15,600 from you. And by the way, it wouldn't be from you; it'd be from the state.
Right.
So I don't that gap of that $7,000 per student gap. The AOE argued that if you went to 5 districts, that gap would be made up by having fewer superintendents in the state. Well, that's a lot of superintendents. I mean, that's $7,000 per kid times 80,000 kids. But that's that. I don't have a good answer to that, but that's a good question because I've asked people what happens to the difference. So if for Windsor High School, for example, if they charge $21,000 per student and they only get $15,600, where does the difference come from?
The difference is you're reducing your staff to make up.
Because I mean, again, like I believe in delayed gratification. I don't want to look for instant solutions, but I also think we're in a really strange climate right now where a lot is changing that is going to certainly be a hardship for Hartland, but it could also be beneficial for Hartland because if tuition truly goes down in the state of Vermont, Hartland looks to have a real budget reduction from that, right?
Yes and no. They would have significantly fewer expenditures into the tuition line. However, you would get a lot less per student. So right now you spend 20,000 per student in LTW ADM. That number, you'd get 15,000 per student. You would have like a $1.5 million budget gap to make up.
But that's going to happen regardless of what we do with this year's money. I guess I'm just responding to the idea that the concern about using the 227 towards this year's,
tax rate, next
tax rate.
Yep.
The concern being that, well, if we use it now, we're going to pay more later. Next year is going to be such a different dynamic that it kind of argues against that worry, if you know what I mean. I don't know, Heather and Beth Ann, what you guys think, but
I feel like it's a little bit of a gamble both ways, right? Like, because we don't know what's going to happen. So do we want to play our cards or like which way do we want to play this? My question before we keep going is, Larry, can you remind us what you can use capital reserves for? Because I always forget.
Yeah, it would be for the building. It would have to be something for the plant. So, for example, if you wanted, I know the one thing that came up in the I think it was Act 70. What the maintenance
building audit?
They did the maintenance audit at all the buildings across Vermont, and one thing, for example, that Hartland needs is brand new windows. Desperately. So, for example, you could use that to replace all the windows in not 227. I'm just saying, as an example, you could use some of that money to replace all the windows to get them up to code in modern windows for Hartland Elementary School. The difference is at all the other school districts, the board can do that in one vote. At Hartland, you would have to put that on the ballot, and the voters would decide
in March.
So could one of our options be figure out how much new windows are going to cost and get that on the ballot using our capital reserve like that? So that could be an option. Are we going to have to pay for these windows at some point?
Yeah.
Like,
you should have a I understand there was one facilities. Hartland's been the only one that has a facilities committee of some sort. I don't know what the status is of that. Whereas
it hasn't met in years. We did have one, but
so at the way it works at the other schools is districts is I work closely with Jim Taft and the principal. We come up with orders of operations of what we want to spend the capital reserve money on, and then we go to the board and ask for it. Because you guys are tied to that March vote, it would be tough to get a number by March, but I think I could work on it. I think that's doable. And just so you know, mechanically, the way it would work is, for the sake of easy numbers, let's say it's $100,000, you would still assign $100,000 of the surplus to the capital reserve, and then we would spend out of capital reserve. Just so you
could do that, or they could just use what's there.
Or you could just use what's there and put all of it towards the tax rate. I don't,
right.
You know, like I said, I don't know how much new windows. I can't imagine it would cost $358,000.
Right. So just for history, that building committee that was meeting regularly was when I was a principal there. It was really out of an exploration of doing some additions on the building to get Hartford Elementary School to have a gym instead of having to share the multipurpose room as a gym cafeteria. So that was the charge of the committee, and upon exploration, throughout the community, it did not look like the community would support that at the time. So that committee disbanded. Just so you know, that's what we were looking at.
And we have to decide tonight what we're going to do with that surplus.
You don't have to decide tonight. It would be helpful from my purposes. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily affect the expenditure line, which is what you vote on when you approve a budget and send it to the voters. It would affect the tax rate, and it would affect capital reserve. I have to account for that money, and the state requires that the board decides how much or how little to put in towards next year's tax rate or to put in the capital reserve. And I have to account for that some way.
And once it's in capital reserve, we can't pull it out of capital reserve to go towards the tax rate. Because capital reserve has to be for facilities.
That's correct. Once you do it now, I'm sure I could look into whether or not the board could decide to move capital reserve into a different fund at the other districts. But in your particular case, I don't think you can, because
I don't think so
you can't even, you as a board can't even spend out of it like the other districts. There's I don't know if it's a charter or what. There's something in the school district bylaws
it was voted on by the community. Yeah. So the community made the decision to run it this way. Like,
I think this is, Larry, I hate to do this to you, but is it okay if we table this decision?
Sure. I mean, I think my advice is to put into capital reserve, but I understand the attraction to buy down the tax rates. We'll know more. The LTW ADM will be firmed up by the early January meeting. That early January, which is your next scheduled meeting, is kind of the drop dead date of the budget. So I would need to know that number and the 227 that day.
Okay. Does that sound okay to you guys, Heather and Beth Ann, just to?
I think, yes, I do want to kind of honor what Larry's saying. Is there can we call a special meeting where we can get the five of us together in the next, 2 weeks to try to get this so that Larry isn't scrambling last minute? Because I feel like that's really hard. And then I feel like we're going to be making big decisions really fast. And so, as much as, we love to meet all the time, it feels a little weird to just be like, let's table this and then figure this out in January. But then unfortunately, and I don't know, Larry, what's going to happen in January, because you're going to actually have hopefully real numbers to work with or something. So this could all be different. Go ahead, Christine.
Well, I was just going to say, he has preliminary numbers right now, which puts your tax rate at about 12%. Could change. Actually, your LTW ADM increase, which helped you. The other thing I just wanted to say before, and I think, we can schedule a meeting. It doesn't have to be a long one. It could be, in the next couple of weeks, although there are a lot of concerts and things going on. I'll just put that out there. So maybe a morning meeting is easier. I know that this budget represents no increases in anything. It's what you have currently, except for, contracted staff negotiation raises and healthcare, and your tuition went down, which is a benefit. But I do know that Frank talked to you at the last meeting about some needs that he felt would be beneficial for the students. And I just wanted to give him a chance to share those with you. They're not represented in what's in front of you right now, but
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank. We'll
so really, I just think from my standpoint, I think it's important to share with the board some of the things that we were thinking, given some of the data that we got back with testing, knowing some of the numbers that are coming in. All I wanted to do for the board was for you to understand and take a look at what some of the options that I discussed with Larry and what that impact would be. Moving forward, whatever the decision is, completely understand it. But I think as you're making a decision, I just want you to see in front of you sort of what the ask is, what it would look like, and what's the increase. Option A, as Larry just described, is the budget book as it is with the increases that he laid out before you. And then going through option B, C, and D, which you can see were just some of the things we talked about, which would be adding a 4th grade teacher, looking at a math interventionist, which is a 0.5 for the middle school, and then a variation of each of those things. And in C and D, it would be the elimination or the cut of one of the SEIs as an overall picture. So I just wanted you to have those numbers in front of you. I know we had some discussions. I just, from my standpoint, think it's important that I advocate or at least express some of the things so that when we get down to the end of it, it wasn't, well, we didn't know you needed, or you never asked, or we didn't talk. It needs to be laid out in front so that when we make a decision and ultimately you guys make a decision, you know, kind of where we stand.
So for that 4th grade teacher, I know last year we reduced the teacher based on numbers in each cohort. That would mean if the board does not add an additional teacher, Frank has a plan, which would be a larger 2nd grade cohort, I believe. The other thing to consider is right now you are within compliance with Act 73 class size minimums. If you add a teacher, I think you are right up against the edge.
12.3.
Yeah, 12.3. So you're okay.
You skirt that line.
But so just some things to consider.
Yep. And again, I just wanted you to know, and we've had a couple of just discussions. And so I don't ever want to go into something without ever having expressed or had a conversation together to know.
Frank, can I ask a few questions?
Please.
Okay, so I know that adding a 4th grade teacher would be lovely. Don't mind the screaming in my household right now. And like with the 0.5 math interventionist, is there an option E where there is just adding a 0.5 math interventionist?
There could be.
Says the math teacher.
As the math teacher, of course.
So yeah, there is an option E. And again, looking at what I have in front of me and understanding numbers of personnel, there absolutely can be an option E where it's a 0.5 interventionist. Would you want that option E to be considered with the cutting of an SEI or just a 0.5 math interventionist?
I don't know if just knowing can you guys survive with one less SEI in that building?
Can we? Yes. Does it mean a step up for other people within our building? Absolutely. It does. It would run tight. but I also know what some of the other things. So I weigh back and forth between knowing what I'd love to have as more math intervention and having after school programming and a more robust summer. So understanding all of that, I'm trying to weigh out the supports that I know that are needed versus, because I'm not going to teach math. And as much as Michael, who's on here, would love to teach math, a math interventionist then means we step up as support within our building, right?
How detrimental is not adding a fourth grade teacher?
That's a good question. I don't know if I can completely answer that. Of not adding, I would have to go back through. I know, so giving you, I can give you numbers if that's going to help also, just to give you an understanding. So currently, first grade is at 23, second at 31, third grade is at 30. So going into fourth, right? And then our fourth grade is 31. Currently, we have 24 fifth graders and 31 fourth graders. So we're looking at an increase roughly into that 4-5 team of 6 to 7 kids.
But your plan would be to move a teacher.
Yep.
And then it would be that first grade cohort of 23 kids would go into second grade as one cohort, one teacher.
Right.
Is that correct?
Something along those lines, right? Something looking at that in front of me would be making that into one, right? We're going to combine seventh grade next year into one. So there's only 5 sections at middle school, not 6. So in essence, you're doing something similar at the elementary level. And then asking and moving somebody into that 4-5. Which is an option. There's no doubt. And I understand what's before us and the uncertainty. And I'm absolutely not looking to put an extra burden on our budget. I just think it's important to lay it out there.
Yeah,
So
I really
are you
do. I like
saying-
the idea of a math interventionist a lot, just based on the data we've seen over the last
Right.
several years.
Mhm.
And knowing how incredibly valuable the reading interventionists are.
Absolutely.
And the ways that they've been able to impact those scores, which we care about, but also my impression is that those reading interventionists have a pretty profound effect on the SEI dynamics for kids that are working with them.
Absolutely.
So I think, to be frank, like I sort of like the idea of having a math interventionist.
Hannah, you can't be Frank. We already have a Frank.
Good point.
Well,
Maybe I can say to be Hannah, because you all know that I'll just say what I think too. But yeah.
I wonder
So
if there's an opportunity, Frank, just thinking a little bit outside of the box. I mean, is there a way to combine a 0.5 math interventionist and a 0.5 teacher? I mean, you have to be a
That's what I was
licensed
just going
teacher
to ask.
and kind of split up that 4-5. I mean, I know this year you're using one of your interventionists to reduce the size of the advisory in 4th and 5th grade, I think.
Yep.
But if you hired a 0.5 interventionist combined with a 0.5 teacher, it might give you some options to reduce some of those class sizes in a
that person
way.
could be a math teacher, right, for 4th graders.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
yes.
Yeah. So it's one full-time
It's
position.
one position.
Right.
And that would kind of be like option D, except not eliminating an SEI. If you could find someone who would do half 4th grade teacher, half interventionist, that would be super great.
Okay. Yeah, I like that idea as
but
well.
I don't think I see that option
Nope.
without you. So you want to see Heather at a teaching position and keeping that SEI position, what that would do to your.
I mean, and when we say I'm with, like, what I would love to see is a halftime 4th grade teacher and a halftime math interventionist. And I don't want to touch the SEI right now. Like, that's not something I'm willing to talk about yet. And that's my opinion, just because, there's still a lot of needs.
Yes.
Larry, is that something that you can whip up, or do we need to give you some
Tonight?
time.
Right now?
I'm just curious. You're so good. Like, it's a.
What's the question?
Can you show us what option E, which would be essentially adding to make it easy on you, it's essentially adding a teacher, right? That's going to be the budget number, is going to be a full-time teacher, and keeping the SEI.
It should be
Can I
similar to
ask
C,
Frank-
right?
It
Add
should
fourth
be.
grade teacher.
It
Well,
should be similar to D, add fourth grade teacher, eliminate SEI. So that's one option. And you just want to see it with just adding the fourth grade teacher.
Without eliminating the SEI. Yeah.
So B and C out, make D, and then the next one just be what's the teacher.
Yeah,
I
option
can,
E is just to add.
yeah, so give me 1 second.
While Larry's doing that, can I ask a clarification of Frank?
Yes.
So for option A, that would definitely mean combining the second or the incoming second grade and moving that position to a fourth grade teacher.
That
If
would be
you
an
go with-
option. That would be one of the backup options to consider is moving that into, yep, and then keeping as is. What we do, we just reshuffling.
Thank you.
Yes.
Give me 1 second. So using your K6, the closest comp.
Larry,
Yeah,
oh, sorry. I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, if like you want a couple of minutes, is it okay if we like move to a different lot? Like, if you need a couple of minutes to like work through some things, we can talk about on our list, talking about the paternity leave, and then we can check that off the list while you're doing some stuff.
yeah. Yes, I'll be done in 1 minute or two.
Okay. Do we want to talk about paternity leave, Frank, for just a moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
Does everyone have the request?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. So that do you need me to
Yeah,
talk
go
through
ahead.
that?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have the request. So
Okay, so we have a teacher, a new hire that has made the request. I know that they have worked with HR and gone through what they needed to do. In the end, they sent a letter with the request asking for, and I believe, Christine, it's a 12-week.
It is. Yep. Well, a 12-week period. Yes, under
Yes.
the Family Medical Leave Act. So they have, that opportunity, but they need to ask the board. It will be an unpaid, I believe.
That is my understanding.
Yeah, because they've
So the
not
board
done
has to
it.
approve because he's worked here fewer than 12 months. Is that why?
Yeah, I mean, typically we bring maternity childcare leaves to the board. There's something in the contract. If it's over a certain amount, the board has to approve it. I think if it's 12 and under, it's up in the air. I mean, they get it by law, so it seems a little, do we have more of a formality, I guess, is the word that I'm looking for.
are we supposed to, do we get to know who this person is, or do we just say,
It's in the letter. Sam August is his name.
Yep, it's in
what
the
letter?
It's linked to the agenda.
Oh, that's what I'm looking at. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, got it. Okay. Hold on. Think, is this the time to make a motion?
Yep.
Okay. We have a motion to, can I have a motion, please?
I move to approve it. Or do we have to have discussion first?
You have to
Um,
motion and then second and
And
then
there will be
discussion.
discussion.
Yeah.
I second. Any discussion about Sam August's paternity leave? It does seem like he did say something about like it being able to go back towards the end of the school year.
Mhm.
Hannah,
And
are
not
you,
taking it all at once. He said he wants to like spread it out. It looks like.
I mean, I acknowledging the challenge it presents to the school community. I think it's an important thing for us to avail to teachers.
Yeah, I mean they are entitled to it.
Yeah. So I support it.
okay?
Yeah.
So all in favor of, we'll take a roll call of granting, I guess it's granting, I don't even know the right words, granting Sam August paternity leave of 12 weeks. Beth Ann,
Aye.
Hannah,
Aye.
and I am also an I.
Excellent. Frank, will you let Sam know?
I will.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, Larry, what's the new? I see the new skinny. Here it is.
Yeah. That's it.
Do you know what it does to the tax rate, Lair? Or
What a
not?
1%, what a 1%. Yeah, okay, 1 second.
I mean the projected tax rate, which could change.
The estimate right now,
yeah.
that would go to a 14.7% tax increase.
And if they applied the fiscal year 25 end of year fund balance, what would that do? It was
What was
about
that, 414?
493.
7.
What was it? 227 what?
493.
227, 493.
Yep.
So that would be $10.7
10.7.
estimate projection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What would it, I'm sorry, Heather, I'm just curious for option D with the elimination of one SEI with a 5.630, what would that do to the tax projected estimated tax rate? With and without the fund balance?
Can someone remind me? Well,
Without the fund balance?
With and without.
Okay.
what was our tax increase last year? What did we end up with the tax rate last year?
I'd have to look at the last year's budget book. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
So using option D, Christine,
Yeah.
using option D without applying the surplus would be 13.7. If you apply
Okay.
the surplus, it would be, if you apply the entire surplus, it would be 9.7.
0.7. Okay. Do you have last year's budget book accessible there? Or not?
Yeah, it's up on the website. So if you go here,
Okay.
if you go to the website, finance and operations, business services, fiscal year 26 budget book, Hartland, tax rate calculation. At the time we did the budget, it's down.
Yeah.
6.1%.
0.1. Okay.
Probably came in at 3% ish after the governor bought down the tax rate.
I don't know if we can go to the taxpayers with a 14% increase.
I don't think we can. I think that we have to, I'm interested, Frank, that when we asked you about the SEI, like I don't feel like I can comment on what the needs are in the building, right? I think you have the best sense of that. And it seemed to me that you are not convinced that we can't eliminate one of those spots. So
Mhm.
I think what I need to hear from you is like, which of those is the most important? Like, if you say to me, the person we need in the building is a 50% fourth grade teacher and 50% math interventionist,
Mhm.
I think that means that has to be a swap out for an SEI person. And I'm really leaning in favor of applying that $220,000 because I think it shows a little bit of an act of good faith to the taxpayers. Like, look, this is not a moment in time where we are able to be saving. But the school is doing what it can to be somewhat fiscally responsible. We ended up with some leftover money and we're going to use it.
Mhm.
Um,
But it
so
could catch us, Hannah, in the
I
end,
I
right?
know it could. I
And
know it
like, I
could,
don't
but
know, like, that's the hard part, right? Is like, in the end, it could completely catch us and it could double what we
so then
did
maybe
last
so
year.
then maybe we do 50-50. But I think I think there has to be some. I worry a little bit about the acceptance of this rate of increase of budgets as appropriate and normal, right? Like there has to be a point at which we say as taxpayers, right? And as the stewards of our neighbors who are taxpayers, this is an unacceptable rate of increase of costs. Larry beautifully showed us the source of that, right? It is health insurance. It's nothing that's happening in the building. But we cannot just accept that it's going to keep going up by X number of percentage every year and therefore never do the things that are within our power to mitigate that increase. And obviously the state has sort of botched it, or maybe is in the middle of botching it. I don't even know what's happening at the state level. I mean, Act 73, we'll see what happens, right? But
Mhm.
again, I think we have to, for as much as we hold in the center of our focus outcomes for kids and the experience of kids, we all live here because of all of the families that live here, and we want those families to be able to stay, right? And I do feel a little bit of a responsibility to protect that constant creep of tax dollars.
Then
So
Hannah, if that's the way that you feel and we feel, then we should just go back with option A and not add in anything or
well,
get.
but that's why I'm saying to Frank, like if you tell me that what you need is a 50% fourth grade teacher and a 50% math interventionist, then let's switch it out for SEI. Like, right, because that should not increase the tax rate. That just says, okay, we're looking at the needs of the building right now, and our administrators who we trust are saying to us that the needs of the buildings are such that we need the math interventionist and a fourth grade teacher. Let's put that in the budget, and we are willing to give up this other thing that, while it is good and important, and in a perfect world we'd have all of it, we're going to trade these things out. So that's, I think, my point. Like, I don't think we can add the fourth grade teacher and keep the SEI. But if Frank says to us, so Frank, I guess it's sort of to you, like, which of those things feels more important right now?
Mhm.
We're
Yeah,
putting Frank in a really hard spot right now because we're not just talking about positions, it's people too.
Yep, it is. And so my question back would be is, do we need to know this right now? Or can I go back and look at some data in regards to what's the SEI?
Yeah, I think the decision is too important to force any of us to do it right now.
Okay.
But I think this has been a really helpful discussion in terms of framing what our choices are, right?
Yep.
So I think what we're saying to you as a board is it's important to us to not increase the budget
Yep.
this year. So it's important to us that we think about, here's how much we can feel like we can ask taxpayers to spend. Can you figure out what of this money, like where are those resources best spent given the projected needs of next year? And then I think for Heather, Beth Ann, and me, and hopefully with Ryan and Beth, will be to say, okay, what's going to be the best kind of strategy for getting the budget passed this year and thinking about the budget next year? Is it going to be to use that money to decrease the tax rate a little bit, knowing that there may be really significant changes to everything next year anyway? Or do we put it into capital reserve, and maybe in that case potentially plan a strategy to also simultaneously request for that funds in March?
Yeah, I just want to echo, and I agree with you. I appreciate the discussion. I think it's important to know the threshold of kind of where we are and what we want. I want to, and the point again in this is to have a meaningful conversation so that you understand from my standpoint sort of what I'm looking at. I want to go back and just look at some data and what that will entail, just meaning the impact SEIs have, the caseload, what they're seeing, what they're doing day, and then kind of run that against the backup, if you will, or the second version for me of possibly combining like a second grade. So I think I'll just go back and take a look at some of that, and then I will report back to folks.
Okay. Does that sound okay to everybody? Heather and Bethan?
Yeah, that sounds
Yep.
fine. I do think we need to like get another meeting on the books here. Maybe, the last, the week of the 15th. Maybe if we can look at like Tuesday, the 16th. Oh, go ahead.
I would just chime in that there's no difference for me unless you're going to approve the budget that night, then you might as well just wait till your next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay.
So meaning if the plan was to approve a budget in January, early January, then we're still on track for that. That would give Frank time. That would tighten up the LTW ADM. I don't think there's a need to have a special meeting. The only need to have a special meeting to me would be in like mid-January.
Okay.
If there was something that had to be, some quasi crisis or something, because I just need to know what to do with $227,000. That doesn't have anything to do with the budget.
Okay.
It has to do with the tax rate, and we can do the both simultaneously. I think the board, obviously you can't speak all five of you in one place outside of these board meetings, but come to some sort of consensus around what to do with the 227.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was just
Frank
thinking is
present
what's the
budget.
best way to bring Beth and Ryan up to speed. And it may be, Larry, can you email? Well, can you email those?
What would be better? I can see where you're going, Hannah. I think what would be better is once Frank nails down what he wants, I can send an email to the board, and as long as you guys don't reply all,
Right.
That'll say the budget book has been updated with this change, with the current tax information we have. If you applied all the fiscal year 25 surplus, your tax rate would be this. If you applied none of it, it would be that. And if you applied 100,000, it would be that. And then you guys can decide.
All right. And then when we meet in January, we can do a very brief summary of this discussion for Ryan and Beth to say, these were the thoughts we had, and let's start here.
Yeah. And just so you know, when I spoke to Beth about her not being here tonight and trying to change the date of this meeting, she'll watch the meeting and she knows she has to catch up on some stuff. So
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my other question is, or comment is, I don't know why I feel so concerned about these windows, but if someone wants to get us something about like a quote for the windows or whatever else we need to use for like capital reserve, because that might help us decide like how much money to put into capital reserve or not. Like, so Frank, I see your hand. Hold on one second. So if, for example, like we need new windows and they're like, and by the way, we could really use a new rug or whatever, like it would be nice to sort of have like a laundry list of things so we can do that, and then we can make even a better decision what to do with that extra surplus.
And it might help us define like, all right, we want to put this exact amount into capital reserve because we're going to ask to use it for this. And it's a way also, again, as we talk about this with taxpayers, we can say, we are not putting this in the budget. We're using this surplus for that.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay,
Frank.
So in that same vein, when it was mentioned before that there's a committee, I've been meeting with Mr. Samuel in regards to needs for the building and categorizing that just as conversations for us. And knowing that Larry, like we knew the windows. So what I wanted to do, and what I was going to say once we're all done, is that I'd love to sit down with Mr. Samuel again and sort of very much like an athletic director, do what my cost of replacing uniforms over 5 years would be. Like I would always have a 5-year plan of going through, put that together and send it over to Larry so that he can have that information. Because we already have a list that we've just been saying, hey, as we walked around the building, this is stuff that we should probably start to look at. So I can have that out to you so that you have that.
Okay.
And you may want to invite Jim into that conversation, Frank, as well.
Yeah, he's been part of the conversation in regards to the list that was created and working
Great.
with Mr. Stammel.
Excellent.
Yep.
Great. Okay. Just so setting the next agenda is then like, do we have any more items for discussion? Well, we don't because it's not on our list, but I don't think we need to make any more motions to move anything. I think we did all that part. So setting the next agenda for next meeting, I think we still need a Act 73 update, and also Larry's going to steal the show with all that great information that he's going to tell us about how the state has made all these great changes, and therefore our tax increase is going to be 2% when all is said and done, and we do not go past the threshold.
I mean, you are over the threshold, just so you know that,
I know,
right?
but like, let's pretend that we're not over the threshold.
Okay.
This is
Just
what's
wanna
going to
make
happen.
sure you
The
do that.
state's going to make really good. Larry, just out of curiosity, how much money do we need? Would we need to cut so we would not be in a threshold? This is the Hannah situation.
Now it's
Yeah,
gonna be called the
so-
Heather budget.
Nope. Your name will be on it forever.
Yeah, give me 1 second. You would have to cut.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's
lot.
give me 1 second.
Ugh. I don't understand this.
Well, the what is the average cost per pupil that the state's approved? 16, I think we said last night.
16,470.
16,470.
So if you cut $1 million out of your budget, you'd still be over the threshold.
Okay, cool. Okay, so
Give you an
honestly, it doesn't really matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. There's like no way we can. It's
if
the
you-
close the school.
If you cut 1.15, you'd be under the threshold.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
But you do get a tax, so like every dollar you're over, you pay an additional dollar. So it does reduce your cost if you
Yeah, of course it
reduce
does.
your cost per student. Yeah.
But well, I mean, what can we do?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other items for the list?
Yeah, we do have one. We should set the budget informational meeting date at the next meeting.
Ooh, I can't wait for that one.
And I have been doing some research on the law around that because it's typically the Tuesday prior to the meeting, the vote in town, the election, but that's school break this year. So we can schedule it the week before that. So I know in Wethersfield they have a different format where they do their meeting on the Saturday before the vote, and it's like an open meeting, and they can't change that because they voted on it, and some of the board members are going to be away on vacation. So I don't, if you're all here that week, great. So anyway, we can talk about that more next month. The other thing that we need to put as an item for discussion, which Larry asked me to add to the agenda tonight, and I failed. Sorry, Larry. The town treasurer increase. So you pay a portion of the town treasurer's salary because the town treasurer works for the school and helps with the school board election and getting the reports together and all of that. So that person has reached out and requested that we consider increasing or matching the town. The town pays part of her salary, I believe, and just matching that increase. So the board needs to vote on that next month, or the board needs to vote on giving Larry the authority to, approve that. It's not a lot of money, and we can do this every year, or you can just give Larry the authority to set that rate. So that should be on the agenda for next month as well.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so.
I don't think we have an executive session.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. I will take a motion to adjourn at 7:40.
So moved.
Okay. I
I
think because,
second.
there you go. Thank you. So I think because it's the last one, I guess I will roll call. All those in favor of finishing the meeting at 7:40, Hannah,
Aye.
Beth Ann,
Aye.
Heather, that would be me. I. Okay, our meeting has been adjourned at 7:40, and we will reach out to Ryan and Beth to tell them to watch the video. How soon does the video get uploaded?
It'll
Usually
be
a day.
up tomorrow. Yeah,
Yeah.
on the website.
Cool. Okay.
Yep.
We'll get them to watch that and enjoy that. Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.